guy over the middle. It's going to be picked off. Racing towards the end zone. He is in. Touchdown.
Welcome back to another edition of the Enough Said program. My name is Dan Barreiro, joined as always by Justin Gaard. And look who's back. Lori Fisher.
The big unveiling.
Who has been gone for about, 6 weeks?
First show of 2024,
I'm alive.
I think.
And are my sources right that you're celebrating 25 years?
Yes, in the building.
25 years.
25 years.
A quarter of a century.
Unbelievable.
Yep, January of 1999, I stepped foot in Fox 9, and we were UPN, and then I just never left.
Let's roll the tape that day in 99. Yeah. Oh, we don't have it? Okay.
And it's literally a tape, right?
That's right.
It's
That's durability, Lori.
VHS, congratulations.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
And the last 8 with us have felt longer than the first 17, I would imagine.
Pretty
correct?
close, yeah.
Well, I can't believe the show's been
way.
on so long, too.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Great.
Don't jinx it.
No Emmys yet.
I won't.
That's where trouble starts.
Yes, well, it is nice to be back, and it's also NFL divisional playoffs weekend. After a big win against the Cowboys, you saw it there, the Packers take on the 49ers, the Texans play the Ravens on Saturday, and the Buccaneers play the Lions, and the Chiefs take on the Bills Sunday. Sadly, as we know, the Vikings are out. Just Thursday night, when asked about the possibility of playing for Patriots coach Bill Belichick, Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins said he's not going to turn down an opportunity to play with a future Hall of Fame coach, but there's a lot of unknowns right now. Dan?
Wow. It was when I had to triple check last night that it wasn't a bit that somebody with AI had put together.
Yep.
Because what's interesting to me about it is Cousins, the Kirk Obos have to be losing their minds over this, because Kirk usually, if he's asked a question like that, what would the usual Kirk approach be? Oh, I don't deal in those kinds of, I have nothing but respect for Bill Belichick.
Right.
But I'm not going to go down the road of any kind of speculation like that. Instead, he fed it. Specifically, even said, well, it's a long way from here to March, whatever the rest of the comment was. And I'd never turn down an opportunity, which I think is his own way of being a shock jock here. I think this is the new Kirk. He's playing chess on this thing and playing this thing out and saying, why not? This is my last moment. And I will say also, Guardsy, if you're a big Kirk Obo, and you are.
I am. Yes, I am.
I think actually you should be more terrified, because if you believe he's that good, then what's to say? It's easy to think that there's going to be at least one or two other teams.
Yeah, I've always thought that.
We're going to break the bank. We don't have to do a 2-year guarantee contract the way the Vikings would prefer it. We'll break the bank for this guy. And I just thought it was fascinating that Cousins basically absolutely fanned the flames.
Well, and given that he is, like you said, usually pretty milquetoast, the one thing about Kirk, though, is when it's time to get paid, he knows how to get paid. He's no dummy. He's no, aw shucks, unrecruited guy from Holland, Michigan, just happy to have an opportunity. He has maybe played the contract game better than anybody has ever played the contract game, right? Going back to being franchised a couple of times, the guaranteed stuff here multiple times. So he knows, and his agent, I think his name is Mike McCartney, certainly knows, and he's a good soldier. I'm sure his agent's saying that. And Atlanta does make a lot of sense. I think Belichick had dinner again with the owner last night.
He's going.
He's not going anywhere, though, unless he knows the quarterback situation, because he's also no dummy. And he knows his record now he's not going to get Tom Brady, but with a good quarterback has been a lot better than before Tom Brady and after Tom Brady. So I'm sure they're all having these discussions. And, Atlanta has the opportunity to take him. And then what are the Vikings left with? Who knows? They're going to have to take a second-tier guy at 11 maybe. I have no idea.
Well, no, then we trade because the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams.
Oh, we get Justin Fields.
And then we give the Bears a second-round pick for Justin Fields. That's not crazy, by the way. That could actually, I think, be something that could happen. I think there's also, beyond that little breaking story, a lot of interesting lessons for the Vikings that already should be learned, but I'm afraid haven't been. If you look just within the division, the teams that are playing this weekend from the division, that of course
there's two of them,
Green Bay and Detroit. The lesson for the head coach here should be, what do they do well offensively? Well, lately, especially Green Bay, they do everything well. They do throw extremely well. They do get the ball downfield, which, by the way, this head coach here in Minnesota loves. But you know what else they do? They take advantage of a good running back.
Yep.
They take advantage of short passes. The Lions use the running game as well. And I hope our guy. Now, his comeback can be, well, I don't have that kind of running back.
Right.
I don't have that kind of offensive line, but then that's got to be the offseason.
You have to fix it. Yeah.
A project for him and for the general manager of the club.
Yeah, to me, maybe the biggest miscalculation, we've talked about this on the radio, that they made this offseason was thinking that Alexander Mattison was going to be up for the job, and he clearly wasn't.
No.
And whether it was the lack of production or the fumbles, to me, are what really killed them. And this isn't even about Dalvin Cook, who just signed with Baltimore and I think is going to play this weekend.
Yeah.
This wasn't
He might
about
get a
Dalvin
ring.
Cook. It's about what you believed and the investment that
Enough
you made,
said.
because they did sign Madison to a couple-year deal. And it didn't work out. It hasn't worked out so far. Ty Chandler looked good towards the end of the season. Maybe he's the answer, but you're 100% right that they have to figure out the running back thing no matter who
Well,
the
and the other big
quarterback is.
thing, real quick, is, we're all assuming Kwesi is the analytics guy, right?
Yes.
And the assumption is
commodities trader.
A commodities trader guy, he's not going to like the odds of trying to extend this thing with Kirk at his age and at the price. But you got to balance that with, does he care about the analytics or does he care about his own butt?
Right.
Because they
Enough
are
said.
heading into year 3.
Yes.
And so that's where it gets funky about what decisions are made here. Are they better to make long-term decisions, or do they still feel obligated to make short-term decisions because they're worried if they don't, they could be gone?
Next up, the Timberwolves are on a 4-game winning streak, beating the Grizzlies beating the Grizzlies Thursday night at home. They're 30-11 midseason, so on pace to win 60 games. They're 17-2 at Target Center, giving them the best record in the West. This is all from Jeff Wald, by the way, Fox 9's Jeff Wald. His math, he says if it's right, the team has been number 1 in the West for 60 straight days. They play the Thunder at home Saturday night, Justin.
Yeah, it's 2 months that they've been the number 1 team in the West. These are heady times. Even, going back, I think TNT had the stat that it's like 10 days for the previous however many years, 34, 35 years that they've been in existence. And I was thinking last night when I saw the 30th victory, I remember a young Guardsy listening to AM 1130 KFAN to the Chad and Barreiro show, wondering, is this going to be the year where the Wolves break through and win 30? And obviously a lot of water has been under the bridge, and they've had a couple of different blueprints since then, and they had the one run with Kevin Garnett in 04, but they're heady times, and the numbers bear themselves out. Why are they like they are? Defensively, they're very good. Obviously, Anthony Edwards was great in the second half last night, but they're doing what we asked them to do against these bad teams. They had the stat last night, again, I'll steal from TNT, 8-0 against the bottom 6 teams. We know last year, that's what put them in the play-in. They had a good record against good teams a year ago, even with Karl Anthony Towns missing the time that he did. But it was the unserious nights, the times where they just mailed it in against some of the worst teams in the NBA that kept them out of a top 6 spot or maybe even a top 4 spot, where you're not having to deal with the eventual world champs in round 1 like they had to. So I think, it's not all been perfect. Even the other night, Chris Finch said, I didn't like our effort at all. I think that was against Detroit.
Early against Detroit,
we knew that we could come in here and do this. They've become kind of a push-button team, which is bad in the sense that you'd like them to be locked in the whole time, but also good that they have the button to push, which a lot of these good teams have to have.
The schedule, I think up till now they've played the hardest schedule.
Right.
And they have the best record in the West, which is a great sign. And, I was thinking about this last night. Another example of how good things really are is, what have I been talking about the last couple of weeks? Beyond finishing games, because there's been a few problems there. Not so much last night. They finished nicely against an overmatched Memphis team. But it's, do we need one more scorer?
Right.
And I'm thinking, well, that's progress, because
right.
If that's what I'm fixating on, that means all of the questions that we came into this season wondering about, can Towns and Gobert play together? Is Edwards going to take the next step? Are they going to figure some things out defensively? Have all been answered to this point very favorably and very positively. So that is, I think, the surest measurable sign of progress. If you're saying, well, we just could add one more piece, then where might we go? It is a really effective ensemble to this point. They got their first national TV appearance last night. Thank God they won.
Yeah.
Even against, as I said, an injured Memphis club, because if they hadn't, those guys on TNT, it would have been open season. They would have been mocked and ridiculed.
A late game, too, as well.
It was,
very late.
Tough to stay up that late.
Well, and if
my teeth are in the glass, about 10:30.
If Nas plays like he did last night, and if Nickeil Alexander-Walker continues to play like he's playing, it's a wrap. I mean, they're going to the conference finals.
Next
if
up.
those guys are playing like that, because they're playing incredibly right now.
What to do with the Williams Arena, the home of the Gophers basketball teams, is up for discussion. Athletic Director Mark Coyle told the Star Tribune the school wants to enhance the experience for players and fans. fans. The barn is 96 years old. Would renovating the current historic building be the answer, or just kind of start from scratch? Dan?
Well, I would say the best way to enhance the experience for fans is to win more games. You start
That's one
there.
part.
That would be an important part of it.
Yeah.
Gaardsy's been on this for a while, and I think I'm where he is finally. I think it took me a while to get there because I do have great respect for the tradition there.
As do I.
But here's my conclusion. There was literally one coach, a single coach, who I think could have saved the barn as is. His name is Eric Musselman. His dad coached there and thrived. He ain't coming. Eric Musselman's not coming. That bridge has been crossed several times. And so if you can't really find anybody who would galvanize things the way I think he singularly could, then it's time to start over with the thing. Be creative, be imaginative. I mean, the fantasy, Justin, is you get some kind of a billionaire backer, right? That's what, again, we talked about this, what this university needs is just somebody who's got so much money to say, well, what do you do?
They do.
What? I'll give you $250 million towards whatever you're going to build, and I'll help you here and there. And you can still make an arena that pays homage to the tradition.
Yes.
But make it smaller, make it spiffier, give you enough of the modern bells and whistles to go with that. It's just a matter of getting creative architects, right? People who understand how to bridge the gap between the then and the now.
Yeah, I would start completely over, and I would pay homage to whatever you want. It's a great building. I'm really the last generation that remembers when it was great.
True.
And I'm 41 years old. I mean, I was a teenager the 97 year that never happened. The 90s were the last time it was the barn as we know it. And that's we always get. When the barn is rocking, it's the best place in town. The comeback would be, when has it rocked last? And that's not Ben Johnson's fault. It's not Richard Pitino's fault. It's not Tubby Smith's fault. Maybe because they've all had different levels of it. It's just, it kind of is what it is. And it is time to move on from it. I don't think it's a coincidence, by the way, speaking of the money, that it's the one arena in town that doesn't have a corporate sponsor attached to it at the moment in terms of the college one. Because go ahead.
As long as we bring the troughs with. The urinal troughs have to be part of the
troughs.
The new Williams.
Welcome back to Enough Said. Earlier this month, a Japan Airlines plane collided with a Japan Coast Guard aircraft. Several people on the Coast Guard plane died, but all 379 people on the plane survived, despite the jetliner being consumed by flames. The New York Times wrote about the miracle and the relative absence of panic on board that helped passengers and crew members survive, and also no one ran to save themselves. Then in the Wall Street Journal this week, talks about Japanese being less individualist, having a feeling of responsibility to community. Would the same thing happen here in America? What do you think, Dan?
It's an interesting hypothetical to me, and the column that sort of inspired me to say let's try to talk about this today. The conclusion was no, it would be worse for us.
It was Peggy Noonan, right?
It was Peggy Noonan.
Yeah, not a lot of faith in us.
Looking at the video and I'm not even sure I've seen video this vivid
not
before.
Crazy.
It is a miracle. Absolute miracle that on the bigger plane they all survived. I think Peggy Noonan's onto something. I hate to think it, but I do believe, because according to the New York Times story, there were a few people who did start trying to get their bags.
Yep.
And apparently they were admonished, maybe gently, by others saying, wait a minute, what are you doing? None of that matters. And I can see, Justin, on a Delta flight.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody going, not going to tell me what to do. I'll do whatever I want to do. Who do you think you are?
Right.
And then I do believe there's somebody else who's going to start videotaping. And then there's going to be the guy, the stockbroker, who's already got his Bluetooth in, who said, wait a minute, I put my Burberry bag 2 rows back. I'm getting my Burberry bag and climbing over whoever. I think there's something to that. And what kind of statement is that on us? It's a broad generalization.
It was.
But I do think that she made a couple of salient points that should give us pause.
She did. However, it was 15 years ago this month. We had our own Miracle on the Hudson with your guy, Chesley, I think?
Sullenberger.
Sully.
I call him Sully.
Everybody calls him Sully.
Yeah.
And he lands in the Hudson, and I think it was 115 people that they also got out on that day. Now, the plane was not engulfed in flames. It was sitting in the middle of a river. But the same principle, I think, applied that day is that people you didn't see them hanging out on the wings. with their bags, with their phone, whatever. They listened to the instructions. They got
Wasn't
out.
that before TikTok, though?
And that's the distinction. You're 100% right. 15 years ago, how much has changed?
Yeah.
How much have we changed for the worse? We've been through a pandemic. That has not made us, I think, a stronger or better people. So I'd like to believe that when it's fight or flight, we all kind of fight together, no pun intended, because we're talking about airplanes. But reading Noonan's conclusions, I could definitely visualize the alternative to what we saw in the Hudson that day. And you and I have been on enough flights where we see these people, we know these people, but I still believe in us as a nation and as a people, Dan, that we would somehow find a way to get off that plane safely.
Rahm Emanuel, who's now the U.S. ambassador to Japan, he had an incredible quote that's an aside, saying that 5-year-olds walk to school in Japan unaccompanied, crossing busy streets for blocks, cars stop, and kids at walkways cross. It's sublime. His opinion is it is a different culture.
It is.
Sure.
And very quickly.
Lori's got family there.
I do. My nephew has walked to school by himself for miles since he was 4 or 5 years old.
And people don't lose their minds?
As someone who has been to Japan several times and has family there, they are the most gracious people I have ever met.
American individualism is a beautiful thing, but it can tip toward narcissism, she wrote. And we're tipping.
And we're tipping. Yeah,
I thought that was maybe the best line of the piece.
Well, I think on Monday, my 5-year-old's going to walk to school, Peggy Noonan. It's only 2 miles.
I like
good luck with that, Justin.
0 degrees.
Tough enough.
As you follow behind him to make sure he's okay. A low turnout, but a clear win in the Iowa Republican caucuses for former President Donald Trump. He received 51% of the vote over rivals Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, which means Trump is the frontrunner for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. Dan?
The best, I think it was Powerline guy, wrote, look, it's over. Now, Trump, he wrote, might have to campaign against Biden in the fall with an ankle monitor, but he's going to be in.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story. I think we already kind of knew it.
Yes.
People, I think, have been, anti-Trump people have been waiting for a miracle, right? Even anti-Trump people in the Republican Party who are too gutless to be, vocal about their being anti-Trump, other than Chris Christie, who's the one guy, of course, who's already out of the campaign. It's all inevitable, right? I mean, the only thing that stops is a conviction, I think, at this point in one of the cases. But the idea that, New Hampshire, that might be the kind of state where it's a little more liberal. I don't think it matters what he could get. I don't think it matters if he got killed in New Hampshire. Do you?
No, and I even saw there was some attack ad on Nikki Haley here recently where she was talking about what she really thinks of you in Iowa, and she thinks that New Hampshire is this special place. Right? It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It doesn't matter. It's over. It's been over. And like you said, the only thing that stops it is if he literally goes to prison and is not able to run. And I'm not even sure if that would matter. The people that are turning out, and as Lori mentioned, it was a low number compared to years past.
Yeah.
So the general is going to be fascinating because what happens? What happened, in 2016?
Who shows up and who doesn't?
Exactly right. And what do those that show up on the Republican side, or I'd even say the moderate independent side, because I still think there's a lot more of those people than we even think about, because we only think about the extremes, right? Which way do they go? Because in 2020, obviously, they went the way of Joe Biden. 2016, they went the way of President Trump. But the people that are out there right now, I mean, it's the vibe. They love the rallies. They love the hats. They love the flags. They love owning the libs. They love all of it.
And they love doing whatever is going to annoy the progressives.
Exactly. And the other Republicans can't go against that at the moment because they can't beat that part of it.
Lori, I'll ask you a broadcast journalism question.
Uh-oh.
Do you agree or disagree with the decision MSNBC made? They refused to run any of Trump's victory speech. I think that's a blunder. I think it's a big swing and miss. There's plenty of time to get into, I think, after the fact, specifically breaking down what he said.
Right.
I think all that does, he's the front runner.
Yeah.
All it does is it creates more resentment.
If he's on the ballot,
yeah.
In most states. Amazon is investing in Diamond Sports as part of a restructuring agreement. Diamond had been in Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceedings. It operates Bally Sports regional networks, including Bally Sports North, which broadcasts Twins, Wolves, Wild games. But a lot of confusion on how all this will work, how teams feel about it, and if games would even end up being part of your Amazon Prime membership, which I highly doubt, Justin.
Yeah, I'm still.
You always got to pay extra.
That's true. I'm still confused. What's interesting is that the MLB attorney is, I think, bitter about this whole thing because it kind of came together with nobody's knowledge about it, at least on their side, and they're trying to. And certainly MLB wants to control a lot of the streaming. That's been part of the issue here. This still does not impact directly the Twins yet, as I understand it. Right.
Right.
That they would have to enter in kind of a separate agreement for 2024 with this group. It's what is interesting too for all the leagues, at least is how I understand it, is I think they were all banking on Amazon being a big member, whether it's NHL or NBA, certainly NBA, Amazon in general being a big part of the national plan that they could leverage and maybe make more money off of. So from what they're getting from ESPN or TNT, and now that might impact that. So they might be upset about this, but I'm all for getting as many games in as many different ways as possible in the eyes and the homes of as many different local viewers as you possibly can. You think about how many games have been missed in towns all over the place that just because they can't figure this thing out. So if this is going to help alleviate that, I'm all for it. But as Lori said, there's a million things that we still don't know about it.
The interesting thing here is if eventually there's a Prime part, Amazon Prime part of it, that's still what I thought a lot of people are bitter about. They're still bitter about the NFL putting a game on, was it Peacock?
Peacock, just
this
Peacock,
last week. Yep. And I think it's inevitable, though, that this is the direction we're going.
Yes.
That there's going to end up being streams, and it is going to be confusing. The home run eventually wouldn't be 2024, obviously, because there's going to be, as you said, I think another year here to fulfill this obligation with the Twins. Is 2025 forward? Can this be one of those revolutionary markets that says we're going to find a way to make money and put a bunch of our games on Fox 9, Fox 29? I know that's Fox Plus.
Fox 9, yeah,
Fox 9 Plus, whatever.
Fox
That's
Local.
The home run.
Fox
and
YouTube.
They didn't pay me to say it here at Fox 9. They didn't.
As long as we're not preempted.
Ooh, I
What'd
didn't
you just
think
do
of
to
that.
Us? What'd you just do to us?
Oh my God.
Just college hockey. Welcome back to Enough Said. The Wild will be without Captain Jared Spurgeon for the rest of the season. He'll have left hip surgery next month, followed by back surgery. Dan.
Well, we knew already it was over. We declared it over a week ago. Now it's completely over. A major loss there. And who knows what it means about his future as well. He's not a youngster.
No, he's aging, definitely aging. And yeah, we've talked about it a million times over the years. The Wild have a great knack of pulling themselves out of seasons that appear to be spiraling out of control. This one, I would say, is past tense. It is spiraled. It is completely done.
We will find out Tuesday about Joe Mauer making the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, the former Twins catcher, in his first year of eligibility, and one of 12 new candidates.
Isn't it great, Dan, that we've gotten day-by-day updates on whether or not Joe Mauer is going to make it? I think as of this recording, he only needs to be on 67.3% of the ballots to actually get in.
They've sucked the life out of it, haven't
they? They have. You said it on the radio. I'm making fun of it because it is annoying to kind of see it in real time.
In the name of transparency.
Which
also
Hall
of Fame voting.
Which also is stupid. But
finally,
congrats to Joe. It looks like he is going to get in on the first ballot.
I never thought it would be first ballot.
I never did. Incredible.
Reba,
and he's from St. Paul. I don't know if we made that clear.
Yeah, do you know that?
Yeah.
Is that where Paul Molitor's from?
And Dave Winfield and Jack Morris.
And Super Bowl news. Reba McEntire will sing the national anthem. Post Malone will sing America the Beautiful. And Andra Day, Lift Every Voice and Sing. We're still waiting to hear if Usher is going to have any friends on stage.
You always love
February 11th.
You love the collab, Lori.
I love the collab. I want to produce a Super Bowl halftime show.
Well, it's not too late.
Now, is this the right age group? I mean, is this going to work for the kids?
I think
like
this is going to be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's what we did last time when we found out.
Good combination, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we did that.
If you're happy, we're happy.
That means raising the roof, Dan. That's the emoji.